Hey everyone, Mystical Mark here. So this will be your weekly astrology forecast for the week of January 14th to the 20th of 2024. We've got a big day at the end of this week here. We've got the Sun and Pluto being conjunct at that anaretic degree of Capricorn and then moving into Aquarius, as well as Mercury finally leaving shadow. All right, so let's get into it for this week. All right, so to start off this week here on Sunday the 14th, I am recording this currently now live on Twitch, so if you want to check that out prior to when these get uploaded to YouTube, you can check. All the links are kind of in the description below, just regarding if you want to come watch live before they're up on YouTube and see kind of all the behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, so to start off today, we have this Venus in quincunx to Uranus, as well as Venus trine the north node and sextile the south node. So I'm going to start off with the nodes here, and then we're going to get into this quincunx because there's actually a yod happening here. So with this trine to the north node here, we can see that Venus is also still in trine to Chiron as well. So again, this is dealing with our wounds to ourself of our independence, but Chiron is now direct, so we're wanting to move forward. We're wanting to kind of heal that stuff, right? And this is in terms of our own masculine energy as well. This could deal a lot with, again, with this Aries kind of Libra stuff. This South Node Libra is like being put upon, being, like doing the stuff for other people, but not necessarily for ourselves in that sense. There's an aspect of independence, that masculine side. Also kind of like aspects of boundaries too, since Mars is in Capricorn and Mars is ruling over that North Node. And that Chiron, that aspect of boundaries, drawing the line, right? In terms of ourself, our own independence, and, our own masculine side in that way too. So again, this is about our trajectory forward. Venus is obviously still ruling the south node here, and with this sextile, and with her being in Sagittarius, this is about our expansion, and of course this letting go of these things that aren't working for us. Of course, South Node in Libra, this could be regarding our relationships, but Venus also rules Taurus, right? So this is, again, those kind of material things, value, self-worth. What if that kind of isn't working any longer? I could relate to our career as well in terms of how we make money and those kinds of things. Jupiter and Uranus are both here, expansion and shakeups and change. Although Uranus and Taurus is still retrograde, but again, Uranus and Taurus, it can take a bit for that kind of change to occur, right? Taurus is very stubborn. It doesn't want to change unless it sees some kind of value. However, the thing is that that change is inevitable, especially as we have this Sun and Pluto coming to the end of Capricorn here, and we'll move into Aquarius on Saturday. Of course, Uranus rules Aquarius, so we're going to have this powerful energy here. So change is happening whether you like it or not. Change is happening whether Taurus likes it or not, right? And we need to learn to see the value in that. And it says also understanding aspects of maybe our own self-worth and our own uniqueness with Uranus here as well. And regarding, as Uranus is still retrograde, regarding this past stuff, and then having this kind of be brought up again, right? Because we have this yod here involving Venus, the south node, and Uranus and Taurus. Change is the name of the game, right? And with these quincunxes, it can be frustrating. And I feel like the only aspect that's really frustrating here is this Taurus energy with Uranus here, with this not wanting to really change. Because Venus is in Sagittarius. Venus can see all these kind of new paths, new directions, all of this stuff, all of this positivity. Sextile to the south node wants to get rid of this stuff, doesn't want to be put upon anymore. She's seeing this grander vision, especially she's building in square to Neptune here. There's this push to resolve this grander vision, seeing this bigger picture, zooming out, right? And with aspects of that, it comes change. I mean, Uranus is going to go direct by the end of this month, I believe on the 27th. And that's when we're really going to start to kind of begin to kind of shake this stuff up a bit more, as Sun and Pluto will be in Aquarius where Uranus is ruling, right? So it could be a bit slow going at first, but these changes, it might be tough, but it needs to happen. We need to move forward. And with this yod here, a yod is known as the finger of God, right? And it's pointing towards this Uranian energy in Taurus regarding change. Change is from where we've been. With Uranus being retrograde, it's going over that old ground, so it's where we've been. We want to shake things up. We want to recognize our self-worth, even from those past situations, and moving forward and realize that. But this could involve here, with this trine to the Sun in Capricorn and everything else that's going on, laying these boundaries, is healing our masculine side of ourselves with Mars here too. So, but change is really the name of the game. It may involve some kind of integration and aspects of letting go, right? With quincunxes and any kind of negative aspect, it's that push for resolution. And this is happening in signs that don't really normally kind of get along, but they're kind of being forced to. And this is, again, this kind of is reminding me of like this uniqueness of this like Uranus and Aquarian energy. It's like respecting that uniqueness and understanding how all of this can work together at the same time as well. So that's kind of the energy for Sunday today. So let's move on here to Monday the 15th. So on Monday, we're going to have this exact sextile of the Sun and Neptune. So what I kind of feel this is, as the Sun is also kind of moving in its conjunction closer and closer to Pluto here at the end of Capricorn, which will peak at the end of this week, as well as in trine now to Juno Retrograde. So this Juno Retrograde here in Virgo, this is about our practical contracts and partnerships. This can relate to people, to businesses, those kinds of things. But there's an aspect of change, maybe your transformation regarding these foundational commitments. And with this sextile here to Neptune, it could be like this dissolution, but it could be bringing this higher vision, this grander vision into place. And it's looking at these details, going over what those partnerships are, all of this stuff, and really transforming this foundational stuff here at the end of Capricorn before the change really starts to begin. So this vision is going to kind of start to build here, right? This kind of reminds me of like if you have like the natal aspect of Neptune in Capricorn is grounding in that vision, making it a reality, a physical reality, foundational stuff in Capricorn. So it's kind of like that. But with Pluto here, it's kind of like rebuilding the foundation, transforming this foundation, and just kind of allowing this vision to unfold and to happen. But I think with this trine here to the Sun as well, to this Juno retrograde, it's going over these old contracts and commitments and things in a very practical sense to seeing what really needs to be changed and also let go of, as Juno is also in square to Venus here wanting to expand. So again, all of this energy is kind of like interplaying together in this sense in a lot of ways too. So that's for Monday. Let's move on to Tuesday here, the 16th. And again, this is the day that we're going to have Venus in square to Juno retrograde exact. So it's like I said, kind of dealing again with those contractual partnerships, but expanding away, seeing the bigger vision, looking at the details here. And this could involve aspects of maybe letting go of some of that stuff, right? Venus here in sextile to the South Node, still in that yod to Uranus, in square to this Juno energy, right? There's changes within those practical contractual things, wanting to expand in these new directions and new positive directions. Trine the North Node here in Aries towards aspects of our own independence. And Venus, building in square here to Neptune as well, expanding out, seeing the bigger vision. This is all about the bigger picture, seeing through this fog, understanding that all of this stuff is kind of happening for a reason in that sense as well too, right? And there is a T-square happening here, so there's this opposition building here between Juno, although Juno's retrograde now, but its opposition is still in place towards Neptune, and then both in square to this Venus here. This Venus really wants to expand. Again, this is about this grander vision of stuff that is going on, zooming out to see the bigger picture, right? Mercury retrograde was over this area, right? And I talked about previously, like a few weeks ago, with, I believe it was the Sun in square to Neptune as well. Don't get lulled into daydreams. This is about the bigger picture, the grander vision. Listen to your intuition, zoom out, right? And in this sense now, it's zoom out, see the bigger picture, wanting to expand into this grander vision in relating to maybe a practical sense with this Taurus energy here, as well as in terms of our partnerships and relationships. And with this square to Juno retrograde, dealing with our contractual partnerships in a practical sense and looking at the details regarding that. And with retrogrades in this sense, when you're dealing with partnerships, like especially with the Venus retrograde, this could be an ending of things too. Especially with this square to Venus and Venus ruling the South Node, there could be an ending, or at the very least some type of letting go in a sense, or a change in some way regarding this stuff and wanting to expand in these new directions regarding these contractual partnerships and commitments in that way. All right, so that's Tuesday the 16th here. Let's go to Wednesday the 17th. So on Wednesday here is when we're going to have this first quarter moon here in Aries. So with the Sun here in Capricorn, Moon in Aries. Moon in Aries can be very reactive. This is both cardinal energy. So this is really pushing for resolution, pushing to move forward, basically pushing for resolution to move forward in a new direction, in a new space. And with the sun coming to conjunct Pluto here, this is adding to this transformational power of this. I feel like for this week, it's like change is kind of the name of the game. It's like, this yod peaking on Sunday, with that yod to Uranus here, with Venus and the South Node, right? It's kind of like, I think I said it in my daily short video on like TikTok and YouTube Shorts, that you kind of got the blinker on, ready to change lanes at the end of the week once the Sun and Pluto do move into Aquarius. So we're preparing for change. A lot of stuff that's happening is preparing for change, and we're really taking action to move forward here. However, I would be mindful of this, as Moon in Aries can be very reactive. This could be very emotionally kind of maybe fiery or intense in a sense, especially since Mars is also in Capricorn here as well, and Mars obviously rules Aries. So there's this aspect of this Capricorn and Aries energy. It's very cardinal energy, but this could be very like masculine, like drawing the line, drawing the boundaries. Aspect of boundaries are really still coming up here as well in this sense. And with Pluto here, this that's adding this Scorpio vibe to it, this transformational vibe. It's like I wouldn't be trying to piss anybody off around this time, because that might just be kind of the end of something. Again, change is the name of the game. We're transforming, we're changing. A lot of this old stuff is shifting, right? Be careful, especially as Mercury here is coming into conjunction with Mars in Capricorn. Mercury in Capricorn can already be like cold, corporate, that kind of talk. And in conjunction to Mars, this could emphasize that act of boundaries, or saying things that, are, that maybe we don't want to hear. And that could be either good or bad, right? It could be laying that boundary in a positive sense, but also in a negative sense. This could be stuff that's like word wars, right? Saying stuff that just, and off the cuff too, emotionally as well. So just kind of be very mindful of this kind of energy. But again, it's really pushing for this transformation. I feel like there's an aspect of boundaries here, like I said, as this new moon that happened in Capricorn last week, squaring the nodes and everything else, was really pouring the concrete for this new foundation, for this new stuff that we are kind of heading into in this sense as well. So I think that is related here too, as this is the first quarter square after that new moon. All right, let's move on here to Thursday the 18th. So on this day, we're going to have Mercury here in sextile to Saturn. So again, this could add to that coldness, I guess, to Mercury, now an aspect to Saturn, but I feel like that could be an aspect of setting boundaries. But I also remember I consider Saturn in Pisces this dissolution of structure as well, so it could be in a sense dissolving, but at the same time setting more boundaries in order to dissolve those old structures, kind of laying that down. You can check out last week's video. I think I explained it better and more in that sense, and how this Capricorn energy is kind of working for and against itself at the same time, but that it's like this positive side is working against the negative side in a way. You're dissolving those old structures and placing new foundations and also by setting boundaries in that sense as well. Just check out last week's video. I think I did a better explanation on that. But again, this could deal with blocks as well, blocks to the mind, blocks in terms of communication. But I feel like there's, again, that aspect of boundaries that is set here too, and maybe the dissolution of those blocks to communication and to the mind, and really kind of expanding that and setting a new foundation in that sense as well. It's really related to Capricornian energy, and we've really got this transformational stuff that's really pushing to occur here. I mean, Pluto is at this anaretic degree, which is already this fated degree, this intense degree, intensifying this Pluto even a bit more as Sun moves into conjunction to it, right? So there's stuff that's changing. I mean, when I say change is the name of the game, that's kind of the name of the game here, especially as we're moving into Aquarius. All right, so let's move on to Friday here and take a look. So we're going to have Mercury in trine to Jupiter. I laugh because Mercury is, coming into junction to Mars and then trine to Jupiter, and it's kind of expanding on what I've already said, the sextile to Saturn. And yeah, then we're also having Venus in square to Neptune here. So again, this is seeing that grander vision, that bigger vision, being aware of the illusion, but I feel like this is almost seeing through the fog in that sense in terms of our relationships, which can relate to this aspect of us wanting to set boundaries, wanting to, say certain things. And Jupiter and Taurus here regarding our own value, our own self-worth in that sense, in maybe setting those boundaries. So again, this can be a positive in terms of this, communication and setting those boundaries and laying those lines and setting those new goals within our own minds while dissolving those old structures which are no longer working for us. But again, this could be also that volatile energy, and be careful of that as Mars is or Mercury is moving conjunction to Mars here, and Mars does rule Aries where Chiron is now. We want to move on to heal this stuff regarding Chiron, right? But it can still maybe affect some of that wounding stuff. So just be careful with that. In a positive sense, this is setting boundaries, laying the line, and moving away from the stuff that has hurt us. In a negative sense, if people are still in that negative vibration of this, it may not be so nice and so good. So just be really careful of that. But again, this is seeing that grander vision, kind of maybe seeing these Venus-related themes, again, related to Taurus or Libra, so our relationships, our material things, value, self-worth, how we make our money, seeing the grander vision of that and maybe seeing more for what it is, really listening to our intuition in that sense and seeing the bigger picture that's really been going on here. All right, so that is Friday, and I've kind of sped through the week a bit because I really feel that the big day this week is on Saturday here, the 20th. So on Saturday here, the 20th, is when we're going to have this Sun conjunct Pluto. I have the chart, it's set a bit ahead here. This happens exact early in the morning on Saturday here, the 20th, where the Sun and Pluto will be exactly conjunct at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So that's an anaretic degree. That's a very intense degree. It can be a very fated degree. Remember that 29 and 0 degrees in astrology are kind of like the most intense degrees of the sign. And with Pluto here and the Sun, this might feel like a huge shift on this day, but I feel like, everything regarding this week, building up to this point is kind of really affecting this. And I think that's a lot of stuff throughout this entire Mercury retrograde, as well as Mercury on this day will leave its shadow once Mercury hits 8 degrees and 29 minutes. All right, so by the end of the day, Mercury will be out of its shadow. I have this set to 7:11 p.m. Mountain time here, and you can see Mercury is almost there. So yeah, by the end of the day, Mercury will be out of its shadow period, and we're really starting to move on into these new spaces and new directions. And I remember I said Mercury retrograde is dealing a lot with this Venus stuff, and Mercury retrograde beginning in trine to Jupiter. Jupiter was in Taurus. Venus was ruling Taurus. There was lots of stuff going on. It really had to relate to, the Venus energy, the Libra and Taurus energy, people and things type energy. A lot of that stuff we were going over that old stuff throughout this retrograde time. And now we're really shifting. So remember I talked about on Sunday this week, it's like we have the blinker on ready to change lanes into this new energy, and that's happening on this day. So with the Sun conjunct Pluto, I think I said it in last week's video, or the week before, I believe it was last week though. This is kind of like the nail in the coffin to this old world stuff, and it's kind of signaling the end of this Pluto transit through Capricorn. Pluto will retrograde back into Capricorn at that degree, I think near the end of the year, but Pluto's only going to be there for like 2.5 months, and then it moves back to Aquarius, and then we'll stay in Aquarius for basically the next 20 years. So this is really signifying the end of Pluto in Capricorn. So ever since 2008 up until now, it's the end of that cycle. It's the end of that Pluto cycle here of Pluto being in Capricorn. And it's kind of like the nail in the coffin for that old world, those old structures, those old foundations, because now we're moving on to change. We're moving on to something new, right? Pluto in Aquarius. This is going to bring us it's kind of like leveling out the playing field in a sense. This could be like more power to the people. Pluto and Capricorn could be power to those structures of control. Now that it's Aquarius, it's going over power to the people, leveling out the playing field, aspects of rebellion, change and transformation technologically, right? We're already seeing this with AI stuff really starting to come out and build. And of course that's happening because Pluto has already entered into Aquarius last year, and it's kind of like at this point, it's moving back and forth. But of course, since Pluto's cycles are so large and so long, this stuff starts to build up before we kind of transfer in. And that's for like any kind of planetary transfer into kind of like any sign or any ingress. But as the timeline is kind of stretched so much with like outer planets, especially Pluto, because they spend so much time in a sign, that we start to kind of notice things shift really before that kind of really starts to happen. But we're going to see a lot more technological advancement. This could be a lot more disclosure of things. And I mean like disclosure maybe in terms of, you know, UFOs, aliens, space stuff, because that's Aquarian energy too. Anything that seems kind of like weird or different. This could really focus on our own individuality as well, our uniqueness and how we connect and relate to each other, connection, disconnection. So I think Pluto in Aquarius is going to drive a lot of progress as well. Aquarius is a very progressive sign. So it may seem a bit slow at first, like I said, as Uranus is still retrograde here. It does go direct on the 27th, so we're building into this change type energy. And then as Uranus begins to move forward, it's almost like the stubbornness of Taurus is going to be forced to change in a sense, right? Because like I said, this is the nail in the coffin for the old world here, and we're really shifting into these new energies. Mars is also in trine to Black Moon Lilith in Virgo on this day as well. So again, there's this aspect of rebellion in this practical sense, really wanting to set boundaries as well. After, you know, looking at these details and stuff and really wanting to move forward in a way. And you can see Mars here is building and trine to Uranus. So there's this wanting this desire to take action on change away from these old spaces too, as Uranus is retrograde. So these new foundational things are still being transformed, being worked on. And like I said, Pluto will retrograde back to this point to kind of go over the last little bits, and then we're in it. We're in it for the long run. This is signaling the end of this cycle. So yeah, a big day signaling change here by the end of the week. So I think it should, well, be an interesting week and be an interesting time as we have this Aquarian energy really begin to happen. And as well, the sun will kind of stay in conjunction to Pluto here at the beginning of Aquarius as well, although not exact. And then the sun will slowly move off Pluto as it moves through Aquarius here. So we're still going to feel this intensity at the end of Capricorn, and then this intensity at the beginning of Aquarius as this shift really happens. So like I said, it's kind of like change is the name of the game. We're really signaling this lane switch, getting into that fast lane and really starting to move forward here. All right, that's all I have for this week. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this week's forecast. If you did, you know what to do. And if you didn't, well, you also know what to do. Feel free to leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts. Any feedback, of course, is always appreciated. All my links as well are in the description below. If you're looking for any kind of a reading with me, that link is there. You can follow me on my socials as well. I post daily on basically all of my social accounts, just kind of continuing the astrology forecast daily throughout the week as well. So if you're interested, you can definitely check those out. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Take care. Bye for now. Bye.